Guys, and welcome back to another episode of Amesie's Corner. How are you all doing out there? So I figured today would be a good day. I'm actually on vacation this week. I usually take my break from the shop in May, and yeah, it's a beautiful week in May, and I figured I'd take you guys to one of my favorite places. Now this, anybody from around the area probably recognizes Big Sandy here in the middle of Brandy Brow Sand Pit. Really cool little area. Never really had any houses built on it, nothing really done with it, other than being a really wildish place. A lot of cars ended up out here. A lot of stolen cars ended up out here. A lot of people would build trucks just to play in this area. A lot of the mud trucks I built when I was younger, and a lot of the skills I earned was building trucks to drive through areas like this. This is probably one of the biggest wildlife areas around. It's totally closed to dirt bikes and trucks nowadays, but I mean, not that you can tell with all the tracks and everything around, still really popular. People love to come out here, but the environmental police, they'll tow your stuff. They'll if they have mad and they're in an attitude, they'll tow your vehicle right out of here. A funny story is I had an old Yamaha Warrior with a 4-cylinder street bike motor, and I was riding in here, and I actually was riding up on the sand hill. I came into the sand hill, and I didn't know it, but I guess I was being chased by the environmental police. I had no idea they were behind me, because, you know, off-road vehicles don't usually have mirrors, but I guess they were following me, and they thought I didn't want to stop for them. They crashed into me on top of the hill right there and towed my ATV out. Never saw it again. I mean, never saw it again. But yeah, that's you know, a story for another time. Anyways, what I was saying is a lot of stolen vehicles used to end up out here, and I think that's a lot of why they closed it. Is just, you know, maybe they were stolen, getting dumped. A lot of times it was probably just insurance, people trying to scam insurance. Most of those vehicles got removed, but there are still quite a few out here if you know where to look, and I think there's maybe 2 or 3 that we're going to take a look at today. There's also another really cool thing, and I hope we can find it, is one of the first telephone cables to go from the east to the west, from the south to the north, ran right through this pit, and there are a couple of markers, and there's one area way on the other side where that cable is sticking out of the sand, and it's this really cool lead-lined cable. I'd have to guess it's probably from the 20s or 30s. So anyways, we're gonna make a little ride here. I figured, you know, like I said, you can't ride dirt bikes out here, so that's why I've got I got a cool e-bike. I got a cool e-bike here for doing some exploration, a little low profile. I can just leave my house on a bike like this, come out here, and no one bats an eye. Well, anyways, let's go for a ride. Let's take a look around and see what we can find. All right, so I'm a little bit down the trail, and this is the markers we'll find out here. There are quite a few of these, and they're all in the weirdest spots. They're not necessarily near a trail or anything, but we got this Bell system. Someone's obviously shot it up over the years. Bell system underground telephone cable, do not disturb. Yeah, and there's a bunch of that out here, and there's only one spot where we're going to find that actual cable, which is pretty cool. But yeah, this is history. There's a cable somewhere underground, is a cable that people talked to 100 years ago. You know, conversations running right here in the thick of the woods. All right, let's go find some cars. All right, I'm at what would be my most recent automotive find out here, and I think this is probably one of the coolest cars out here. I'm going to be honest, guys. Don't rip me apart. I'm not sure what this car is. I can't really get close to it at the moment because it's a little wet. It's a little wet around the edges. Now, what I think is really cool about this is definitely a front engine, rear drive something. I'm sure those little vents in the back will give this thing away to somebody who knows exactly what this car is. I wish I knew. I'm going to say it looks awfully Japanese to me. Awfully front engine, rear drive Japanese to me. And just a neat car out here. Not really any trail near it. My guess is this probably wasn't stolen. This was probably a car that was loved and used and beat on and who knows what else, and then they just took it out here for its last hurrah. And one of the coolest things about this, and I hope you can see it, There is an old Star Speedway Budweiser Saturday Night Thunder bumper sticker, which is pretty cool. You know, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if this actually was out there. It looks like a midget car, little sticker. It's hard to see, but say it looks like an old midget car, one of the big wing outlaws or whatever they are. But yeah, I just wish we could get a little closer to it, but I'm not about to go walking in that water. Doesn't look like the cleanest water out here. But yeah, an old rusting relic. Came from dust and got turned into rust. Yeah, let me know. You guys know what I'm looking at. Leave it down in the comments. By the look of that engine, it was probably a fun little car at one time. Well guys, found something else out here I'd never seen here before. Just looking off the road, looking for just little bits of whatever, and we got an old single-cylinder snowmobile here. Boy, it looks like it's seen some better days. I think we're gonna need a whole lot of mystery oil to free that one up. But yeah, looks like she's been hot. Looks like she got a little hot out here. There could have been a forest fire at one time that ran through here, and that's why we got all the melting aluminum. But I'd say, judging by the trees growing around, this was probably a very, very long time ago that this was put out here. My guess, something like this probably broke down out here. We're not really close to the road. This was probably kind of wasn't the greatest sled in its day. I mean, it was great for what was out there, but it probably broke down out here. And you know, if anybody that has a snowmobile broken down in the woods knows, it's they're not easy to push. They're not easy to get out. That's probably more than likely what happened here. But looks like the fire in Mother Nature had its way with it. Again, anybody knows what I'm looking at? Maybe the front will help you. An old skidoo or something. Anybody leave down in the comments. You know, I mean, it's junk now, but I'm sure when it was new, it was a whole lot of fun. I'm sure someone had a whole lot of fun out here on that thing. I mean, we got some late model junk, and was that an old sofa bed or something? Yeah, I don't care about that kind, but yeah, I still like to find stuff like this out here. It's got a story. It's not going to tell it, but it has a story behind it. I'm sure everything we're going to find out here has a cool story behind it. All right, let's keep looking. All right, here's probably the coolest automotive find that I have to show you guys today. Now, when I said that people used to beat cars out here and then dump them or whatever, you know, maybe that was what that little other car we saw earlier. But a lot of cars were stolen for insurance, like we said, and a lot of cars were just straight up dumped after being stolen. And I think right here we have that category right here. One thing with an insurance job, you kind of want the car to be found, but if someone steals a car, they don't want the car found. And I think that's what we have here. This would be a late 80s Ford Mustang, and it looks like it really wasn't in very bad shape when it was brought out here. I know I've looked at this before. I couldn't find anything that had a serial number on it. The VIN number, you know, it would have been a VIN number here. Would have been in the door jambs. That's probably the passenger door. There are a couple of stickers and whatever, so you know what we're looking at. I mean, definitely a Mustang. If anybody knows what year from what you can see here, let it down in the comments. But this here would be a car that I'm just gonna say was stolen and dumped out here with hopes that it was never found. You know, someone needed a drive line, and this is what gave it. Now, interestingly enough, a lot of the parts I see here are parts that rot out up here on a lot of these cars. A lot of these wheel arches rot out. A lot of these box sections back around the rear wheels where all the snow and salt gets kicked up usually is in really bad shape, but you know, floor pans rust out. It looks like this car really didn't have any rust on it when it was quartered up and dumped out here to die. So I mean, you know, I'm going to say this is a 100% stolen vehicle that that probably has no way to trace it back to who used to own it. But I guarantee you one thing: there is somebody in the area, there's somebody out there that has no idea whatever happened to their car. You know, they went out to their driveway one day and their baby Mustang, their gray Mustang, was just disappeared, and they don't know what happened, don't know where it went. And for all intents and purposes, they probably will never know. There's a lot of the kind of panels that if you were to buy these things from a junkyard and they were to, you know, have a junkyard cut it out and ship it to you, you're going to end up with parts that look a lot like this. I mean, I'm going to say, if I was in the middle of a Fox body project and I needed some rust panels, some repair panels, I can't say I'd be above harvesting these. I mean, I didn't steal this car, but I guarantee you there's no way to prove which car this was. Like an AC condenser. Floor pan. Yeah, so if anybody's looking for some nice Fox body quarters, an HVAC box, not much of a market, not much of a demand for those. Yeah, but somebody's missing their vehicle. This is a lot of the reason why they shut down being able to come out here on anything other than your feet or a bicycle or horses. You can come out on horseback, no one's going to say anything, but no motor vehicle trespassing out here. And it's because too much of this kind of thing went on back in the day. A little rust. She got a little rust at the bumper mount, so I mean, deduct that from the price. The roof, or half the roof. These were actually really fun cars. There's been a few. I think we did a video. We reviewed one of these very recently. Well, a very few videos ago. We did a car that would have been very similar to this. Kind of a shame. Someone needed a motor. Someone needed a transmission. Instead of, you know, being a normal, decent human being and earning money and buying one or finding one or fixing what they had, they took it upon themselves to steal what somebody else had. Kind of a shame. But out in the middle of nowhere, I mean, just to get this stuff here, I mean, I'm guessing they probably threw it all in the back of a big lifted mud truck and threw it in the spot, and mum's the word. What a waste. What a waste. You know, if anyone needs a Mustang quarter, I'll let you know where it is, because as far as I'm concerned, this is just litter in the woods. You know, these woods don't deserve for this to be here, and yeah, what can you do though? What can you do? All right, there's more to find. Let's see what else we can find. Let's see what else we can come across out in these woods. But I don't think anything's going to be quite to the level of this. No. Here we got the sand sea. I call this the sand sea. This sand blows, the wind blows the sand through here, and completely changes this thing every year. Every year the ruts are different, the layout's different. A lot of dirt bike activity, which is not supposed to be, but you know, just kids playing, keep them out of the streets. So everything we've been finding today is just, you know, old cars. It's just, in the great scheme of things, they're cool. They were cool in their time. They're cool to appreciate now. But there's nothing really historically accurate about them. They're just cars dumped in a spot, whatever. But we saw those underground buried telephone cables, which I'm going to say were, you know, probably from the 20s. Maybe even older. Now, I had never known this, and like I said, everything changes. There used to be a tree here, and you know, it's just someone made a path and it gets cut up and opened up. But one thing you see these roots and roots and roots. But this one here, one day I was out here and I kicked this root, and I was like, oh, I hurt my foot. I was like, what the heck is this? And I picked it up, Oh, it is heavy. I gotta say, probably a foot of this weighs 15 to 20 pounds, just a foot. And this would be a lead encased telephone cable. This is that buried telephone cable. You can actually see, just barely see, the different wires that would have been connected to the old school switchboard. You would have dialed the operator, told them who you wanted to call, and they would have plugged it into the right line to go to where you needed. And this cable is a piece of telecommunications history for northern Massachusetts, southern New Hampshire, because we're right on the line of New Hampshire and Massachusetts. And this probably would have gone, who knows, to Boston, and then from there to points north. You really see all that copper cable in there. I can't get over how heavy this stuff is, and how cool it is that I can actually touch this piece of history. I mean, I know it's just a lead lined or a lead shielded cable. Looks like there used to be some tar bitumen or something on there, and you can see the wires. I wish I had brought a saw or something. I could have cut a piece off, because we would see all those wires for what they are. But this would have been before plastic. This would have been before real rubber. This was probably gutter perch. This was actually coated with to help keep it waterproof. Here's a break in it. Physically, I'm pretty strong, and I can barely pick it up. You can see paper. That's going to be paper or something. Wacko, there are the wires. Look at that. Not even insulated with anything, with gutter perch or anything. That just looks like maybe a hemp paper, and that would have separated all those wires for all these miles. I'm sorry if you I'm just showing you a wire in the ground, but you can imagine the conversations that would have gone through that. World War II, the Great Depression, and all the conversations about everything from then between. You know, I don't know how old that line would have been. I'm sure those the buried underground cable plaques would kind of give an idea, of a general idea of what year those would have been. But what I'm looking at there, at least the 40s, if not substantially older. I wish I knew a little more about how the telephone system worked around here back then, but not many times you can actually touch a piece of history like that. Well, I can just imagine the things that were talked over those wires, the conversations, and the stuff that was done, and the fact that we're out in the middle of nowhere. We're not near any houses. We're not near any real roads or anything. Just we'd gone through here and straight through the woods. Neat. Little things like that I find it neat, huh? Well, anyways, why don't we talk about this for a second? I'm sure you guys are wondering about my e-bike. Disregard the KTM. I put those on. It's actually a Bintelli is the company. They call it the Quest, but it's just a rebranded other company that they put their name on and whatever. So I felt, I call it a KTM. But hub motor, 750 watt hub motor, 10.5 amp hour battery. Says it goes 40 miles. I'm getting closer to like 20. You know, maybe even 15 or 20, but we're using it in some pretty off-road places. Hydraulic disc brakes. Got hydraulic disc brakes on it. Thumb throttle, and it has a pedal sensor, a cadence sensor they call it, so when you pedal it, it goes. Not a powerhouse as compared to like a dirt bike, but probably the power of a moped and maybe a third of the weight of a moped. And handles all right. I mean, it's no Cannondale or Trek mountain bike, but just a neat thing to get out in the woods and get away and not make a lot of noise and not make any impact. All right, guys, we got a few more finds out here. A few more things I'd like to show you before the weather kicks in. You can see it was nice and sunny when we started this adventure, and we got some overcast skies and some storms brewing. But let's see if we can find some more stuff before that happens. All right, so something else I've stumbled across out here. I'm surprised I've never seen before, but I'm kind of taking the less traveled paths just to see what I can find. And Found this thing here. This looks like the remains of an old box truck, of all things. Big old box truck on its side. No axle, no cab, nothing like that out here. Just the whole bed part of it. Looks like there might have been some aluminum up there someone cut off to scrap at one time. And it looks like it had in it a whole bunch of old 1940s and 50s car seats. I'd say probably more like 50s and 60s. But a lot of real tacky stuff that would have been real popular back then. Tacky fabrics and weird colors. A lot of them. Awful lot of seats. I don't know what this thing is. It's definitely something with lights on it. Maybe the front of an really old semi-trailer. Something like that. It looks like it too. It's chock-a-block full of car seats. Who would save all these car seats and then just throw them out here in the woods? If anybody recognizes anything, I sure don't. Everything here is good and well before my time, but definitely a lot of weird stuff. A lot of weird stuff out in these woods. Good thing I've recently had a tetanus shot. Say these two here are probably the most complete. That trim, someone knows what that is. That trim and that fabric, that would give that away. I wonder if there's any markings on there that would have said. No, I don't see anything. Yeah, just a bunch of junk now, but I'm sure they were all pretty comfy in their day. All right, let's get going. All in all, I had a fun day today, looking around at all the stuff I found over the years, and a couple of new things I didn't even know were out here. There's also some other stuff which I wanted to show you guys, but it's early spring, it's pretty wet, and I just couldn't get there. I couldn't get to some of these other things out here. We'll have to save that for Brandy Brow Part 2. The last thing I got to show you guys, and it's kind of weird, out in the middle of nowhere, is kind of a mini junkyard for Power Wheels, of all things. We got a Power Wheels Mustang over here. Power Wheels Mustang. We got the Power Wheels Jeep, which I think was all-wheel drive. Was an all-wheel drive Power Wheels, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, motor in the front, the back. Well, if it was here, would have had motors. And here we can see the real reason why these are out here. Anybody guess? Anybody guess what the kids are doing with these? This one was a Mercedes. I didn't even know they made a Mercedes Power Wheels. Anybody want to guess? Yeah, that's right. Tying them to the back of a quad and dragging people through the woods. Now, that also goes into the other part of why they don't want people out here riding dirt bikes and stuff. If and it happens when a kid crashes and breaks their leg or breaks their arm or worse or better or whatever, they got to come out here and rescue them. They got to figure out where they are, and then you know, first responders got to take their time to come out here and keep kids who are doing stuff like this getting hurt out here. And that's happened a few times where they got to rescue, and you know, that's what kills it. That's what makes it really so why you can't be out here. The other reason, you know, I mean, it's one thing people are making a mess, dumping stuff or stealing cars and dumping them, or insurance fraud, and it was just a lot of that going on, and it kills it for everybody. We had a lot of fun when we were young playing out here. No one cared. You know, I used to be riding someplace where you weren't really supposed to, and the police would say, why don't you go to the pit? Why don't you get out of this person's backyard? Why don't you go someplace where no one's going to bother you? But nowadays, no, they don't want that kind. They just want to keep you out for your own safety. But you know, when you see stuff like this, it kind of hits you why. Yeah, it kind of hits you why. Well, all right, guys, well, a lot of fun today. I'm gonna make my way out of the pit and go home and relax and get some of this mud and dirt off of me, and I'm sure I probably got a tick or two hiding somewhere. So anyways, it was fun. And on that note, and until next time, guys, keep it out of the cabbage.